Hello everyone, welcome to another watercolor tutorial. We are painting a gorgeous alpine landscape today, and I saw this reference photo by akankshas.art, and I realized I have a very similar, if not exact same photo from my own trip to the Alps. I can't remember if it was Switzerland or Italy, but I cannot find it in all of my pictures, so I'm just gonna use hers. And I can't even Google the image because like I said, I don't remember where it came from. So like the name of the hike. Not that I would know the name of the hike anyways, since I don't do the research behind these trips, but I am just applying blue that is fading outwards. For some reason this turned into like a purple. I am not sure why, but we're just gonna go with it. And I'm going to fade this out just up to here, I would say is safe, because we are going to be painting over top of this, so the bottom doesn't matter so much. So once you are happy with your little gradient here, you can let this completely dry before we move on to the next step. Okay, so this is dry. I am taking my size 8 and this new grayish blue color that I discovered that I'm actually quite enjoying on this new palette that I am using. It is the color, it's a miracle I still have this, Payne's Gray. And that's what I'm going to be using for our first like real mountain layer here. So I would say somewhere around here, you can just, that's a bit too much. I want to water that down quite a bit more. But we're just kind of creating a very rough mountainscape in the background. And then we're gonna take like wash some blue into that Payne's Gray to create another layer just below it. I don't really feel like waiting for it to dry. But I'm kind of doing two things at once here. It's not as blue as I was hoping for. I was hoping that it was going to be a little more blue, but anyways. We want to fade this out quite a bit because there's a chance that what we paint over top is not going to go all the way over top, so yeah, I'm kind of tempted to let this dry and then go over it again, because I wanted it to be two separate mountain ranges at the top there, and it kind of morphed into one, because obviously because it was still wet. But maybe I can fix that somehow here. Probably not. I think I would just have to wait for this to dry. But I don't want to wait, because this is the last tutorial I have to film today, and then October is done. And that makes me a very happy chap, because then I only have to do November, December, and I am done the year, which was my goal to do before August 1st. maybe if I pull some white onto this palette, or sorry, onto this painting. No. Oh well. It's not a big deal. That's just the background. It's not the big show. So let's just let this totally dry, and then we can move on to the next step. So this is dry. Now what we're gonna do, you can either do this with a pencil first, or you can just, if you're confident enough, go straight in with your paintbrush. But it looks too, like I don't want to ruin it. So we are gonna think of this as like super jaggedy cliff where the sun is coming from the right side. So this right side is gonna be all green and lit up and beautiful. And then there's gonna be such a sharp drop on the left side that it's gonna be completely covered in shade. And so it's gonna be dark and dramatic. So think of the best way, I mean, it makes sense if you saw it, and I wish I had a reference photo for you, but I don't know the name of the hike. So you're gonna basically draw on almost a triangle, but it's gonna have like a little divot at the top. So about halfway up your page is where it's gonna start, and it's gonna slope upwards like this, and it's gonna peak just above your mountain ranges. The slope should not be that harsh. It should be a little smoother like that. And then it's gonna come down like this, go back up like this before sloping a little bit lower. So it's gonna slope down to here like that. And then this is going to be like this. It'll make a lot more sense when I'm painting this. I'm just sketching it out for myself. And then it'll kind of come like this. Okay, hopefully that looks okay. So let's do this. I'm taking like a lime green color because I would need it to stand out. And we're filling in the side that is supposed to be, you know, covered with this beautiful sunny scape. Or sorry, it's supposed to be covered with sun. So I'm using a nice lime green or whatever green that you might have lying around. And we're just filling this totally in with that green, and we're gonna obviously adjust this quite a bit, but for now, just fill it in with the green so you have a rough shape of what this is supposed to look like. And then this is going to be all green as well. And there's gonna be quite a nice little path going on here. So I'm just gonna take a darker green, or you can add black to the green you were using. And I'm just gonna roughly start it. So we have a guide for ourselves, but we'll go back later with with that and define it a little bit more. And you can add, because I want this to be a little bit more fall-like, although I don't know if there's a point of even trying to do that, because I'm tempted to add like flowers, beautiful alpine flowers and whatnot. But let's see, let's just add some streaks of orange and see what happens. Okay. Now, this is going to slope dramatically downwards. This is too much of like an angle. I don't want it to angle like this, so I'm gonna straighten it a little bit more. This. Okay, I know I should wait for this green to dry, but I'm impatient, as you guys should know by now. And I'm going to be mixing green with black. It's going to be mostly black and gray and just really dark, intense hues. And I'm filling this entire section in with that black. I really should wait for this to dry because I'm gonna regret it. Let's just take a quick hair dryer to that. Okay, so that should be dry, I hope. And I'm going to just fill this in. And you want to have your brush strokes going downwards a little bit because you want it to look like it's sloping downward. So more like this rather than what I was doing. That was not, what I was doing was not what you should be doing. It's just not ideal. Quickly grabbing my quadruple zero here just for these really itty bitty parts around the little peninsulas. And you want it to look jaggedy, like I'm doing it too smoothly. Okay, so that is slowly coming together. So what I want to do, I'm taking my size 1 here, picking up a bit more black. I want to darken like right underneath here, because that is supposed to be like the darkest area where it gets the least amount of sun. And same with here. And see how I'm purposely moving my paintbrush like in and creating these jaggedy edges? That's what you want. You want to do that. And now you can do a few things. You can take like lime green and just, you know, add it in there. So you create highlights and shadows. You don't have to do that. I'm just tempted to because that's what I do. Okay, I'm gonna zoom out because I'm gonna forget that it's zoomed in and then mess that up. So I think I'm mostly satisfied with, actually I'm gonna make this a little more jaggedy, although it should be a little more light. Like that. And perhaps this section as well. Okay. Alrighty, so let's do our, like, refine this area a little bit more. So I'm gonna switch back to my size, what is this? 8, I think. And we're gonna be creating that pathway. So I'm just going over it with a dark color, like a black mixed with green. And then it very quickly, very quickly narrows into this tiny pathway that you can barely see. And it sort of just disappears in there, this pathway. And we're going to add maybe some like lightness around here. So the reference painting, she is definitely, I don't want to say definitely because it's hard to tell, but I don't think she's using watercolor because it looks very, like each brush stroke is super defined, and that typically doesn't happen with watercolor because it blends so much. So she's either using oil or acrylic, maybe even gouache, who knows, but I doubt it's watercolor. And so it's very easy to see her brush strokes. There's all this texture and stuff over here. I don't know if this is supposed to be another pathway. And my pathway here is like way too perfect looking. We definitely want to adjust that. And we can do that by adding some green. I don't like that green at all. It's way too green. Honestly, to add the amount of texture that I want in this painting, I'm probably going to end up just splattering some paint and making it look like there's wildflowers growing, because I really like that look. It's easier just to blob on a bunch of colors and then mix them together. This white, I'm digging this white. I'm so happy with the opacity of this white in this palette. Linked in the description, by the way. I started using this, well, when you see this tutorial, it would have been several months ago, and I am in love with it. I really, really, really like it. So the other thing I want to add like path stones to this, because but they'll be greenish path stones. Maybe I'm gonna just add white and then gray. I don't really have a plan. I just put things in places and hope that they, yeah, see, that looks decent. That looks all right. I'm gonna switch to my size quadruple 0 here. Grab some nice light. Actually, the light isn't gonna show as much, so maybe I'll do more of like a darker green. Add some grassy features. Although I realize that this is not as practical when it is still wet. Okay, that's not really working out for me because it's still wet. So I don't like how that looks at all. So maybe we should wait for that to dry, I guess, before we continue on. I don't know, I feel like something is missing up here that I'm still needing to add. Perhaps defining the edges of this cliff will give it that little extra something something that I'm trying to identify. Something like that. Well, this is also a little too smooth for my liking. adding some grassy features there. Okay, so now, just to spruce this up, well, no, let's let this dry first, and then, no, actually, sorry. Changing my mind 17 times, but I just want to quickly, while this, I don't know if this is still wet or not, I don't even remember at what point I painted this, but I'm just adding some gray and white highlights there just to contrast the shadow a tiny bit. That looks nice, I think. Okay, let's let this dry and then we can come back. Okay, so something I want to do is darken this pathway. And it doesn't all have to be even. I'm just kind of like spotting with my brush. I just want a little bit more definition there. Like that. And then also I'm just really roughly dragging my size 1 here, and it's surprisingly created not a horrible look. I mean, it's not my favorite, but it's okay enough that I'm going to continue it on the other side. And then fix it a bit, smooth out some sections, and then what I want to do is take like, we'll start with yellow. And I'm going to put a piece of tape here. Maybe here. I'm tapping my paintbrush against another one with yellow, although yellow is not going to show very well, so let's do pink. Pink doesn't fail us. These are going to be our wildflowers. It's hard to do this and not get paint everywhere where it should not be. Because I obviously don't want flowers growing on my pathway. So maybe I'll just apply them manually. I'll make them a little bit bigger. And I'll put some yellow ones while we're at it. And I think that looks, I don't know, there's some sort of texture missing from this that I can't quite grasp, but we've been going at this for 30 minutes, so I'm gonna call it a day, but you can totally add something if your heart desires it. That is our beautiful little alpine hike painting. I hope you guys enjoyed this one as much as I did painting it. Let me know what you think in the comments. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next tutorial.